What's going on, everybody? Welcome to try again. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of Holding Court here on the First State Hoops Report YouTube channel. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Chris Stevens. I am the founding editor and founding editor of First State Hoops Report. That's what I'm trying to say, and the host of this here podcast, Holding Court, which covers all things high school and college basketball here in the state of Delaware. I invite you to subscribe, tap that notification bell to be notified of all the new content that drops on this channel, because I do highlight videos from the games that I cover. We get interviews with the players and coaches, and you also get a weekly episode of me just talking about everything that's going on within the high school basketball space here in Delaware. So it's actually Sunday morning. I usually record this on Saturday nights, but I went to the William Penn Sanford game on Saturday, and then I went to the grocery store because, of course, it's supposed to snow today, and I just did not want to have, I wanted to have as much stuff in my fridge as possible. that's just how I see things when it comes to a snowstorm, because sometimes you feel like eating something, and sometimes you don't. You want to have options available. That's just me. But yes. So yeah, recording this on a Sunday morning, probably gonna go get on the treadmill, go for a walk, and then get back before the snow starts and watch these football games. I mean, I'm not an Eagles fan, I'm not a Ravens fan, but I hope they both win today. So yes. But this week was a very interesting week in high school basketball circles. Like I said, went to Sanford William Penn yesterday, game of the year candidate, really good game on both sides. Sanford jumped out to a big lead. Penn rallied back. What I liked about Penn was that they take on the mentality of Gary Lumpkin and Tail Davis, their coaches, when they played, because those dudes gave no quarter. And yesterday, Penn was a young team that made a lot of young mistakes. Their three guards, I like their guards a lot, especially Kendall Riley Garlic. Shouts out to his father, Carl, who's a real good player. Chopped it up with him yesterday at the game. Yeah, that kid is one of those ones, literally. Like, he's big. Well, he's big for his size. He's a ninth grade. He's about 6'1", 6'2". He's very physical, and he has his pace down right. Like, there aren't that many kids at a ninth grade level that just are able to move how they want to move and let the game come to them. And Birdie had a really good game yesterday, except, that last turnover is probably something that's going to bother him for a long time, but it's only going to make him better. And, that entire Penn team showed up and showed out yesterday. Zaire Gibson, who was originally at Penn, was putting up buckets at Aspera Academy last year. He almost single-handedly came back and won that game for Penn. That 4-point play near the end, it was just like, did that just happen? Because Sanford was up double digits most of the fourth quarter, mind you. And Zaire started getting on a roll, and they were down 5 with about 20 seconds left. So I said, okay, all right. They get a 3 here. They foul. They take their chances at the free throw line. He gets hit on the backside of a three-pointer. It might have been a little bit of a little Oscar-winning performance maybe, but he got the call. Shot went in, made the free throw. It was 66-65. Sanford's like, oh my God, is this really about to happen? And then Sanford goes down, misses a couple free throws. They get the Penn gets one last chance. Birdie gets kind of forced in the corner a little bit. I think he saw Zaire out the corner of his eye and was like, okay, I can make this pass. And it was just like, he went between Zaire and another kid. And it was just like, darn. And Sanford was able to escape. But that William Penn team is a team you are not going to want to see come March. Like, once they get all of their ducks in a row, once these freshman guards get up to speed, Andy Webb is playing tremendously as the senior forward. Again, Zaire Gibson, you can't leave him alone for a second. That is going to be a team that's going to give teams nightmares in the state tournament. So if you get Penn now, you're not going to get them in the next month. I'm telling you now, this is a very dangerous team. Shouts out to Gary Lumpkin and Tail Davis and Olin Knotts and that entire coaching staff. They've done a phenomenal job with those young men. I mean, their record is 3-5. People are like, why is everybody so excited about a 3-5 basketball team? Because the future is very, 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 very bright. And I mean the immediate future. If you think Penn is not going to make any noise in the state tournament this year, you're sadly mistaken. That's a really good ball club. On to the Sanford side of things. Khalid Hart, he told me yesterday he felt like he didn't like the composure of his team coming down the stretch, but they did just enough to win. I mean, they got scoring from everybody. I mean, Jaden Taylor scored 16, even though he was limping around a little bit in the second half. That should be cause for concern for Sanford. Azir Elgood scored 16 points. Kareem Hart scored 16 points. Nico McNeil had 14. He hit the. It seems like every time I go to a Sanford game and it's close, Nico's at the free throw line at the end, and he makes the free throws. I mean, that's what you want out of your senior point guard. You want him to understand the moment. You want him to not be afraid of the moment. You want him to execute, and that's what Nico did. So that Sanford team has a lot of weapons, and I did see Stephen Conway after the game because he hasn't played this year. I was like, please don't tell me you're not playing this year. He's like, oh, I'll be back for the tournament. I was like, good, because again, we don't like to see players hurt. We don't like to see players not playing. So that Sanford team, they're the top team in the state right now. And I don't think it's far-fetched to say that St. E's, again, is giving them a run for their money because St. E's came from 17 down to beat Dover yesterday, 50-48. And we don't get this matchup for another 3 weeks. But Sanford and St. E do play. And that is going to be probably one of those ones where all of us with cameras and notepads are going to be, kind of bumping elbows a little bit, because that is going to be a game where everybody's going to want to be. And because it's possibly a championship game preview. It really is. And we said this before about St. Elizabeth. It's just that they don't have the size, but they have the relentlessness. I mean, when you think about their tallest starting player is Kenny Hunter and Mason Price, they're both like 6'3", 6'4"-ish. Like that. And when you have your guards, when you have Stevie Nixon, Caden Harris, Deshaun Holden, and Kyan Alexander, they aren't very tall, but they are very aggressive. That's another team like William Penn that just does not stop. And that's something that Sanford's going to have to look out for in the next few weeks. I mean, I know they have Howard as well. I think they have Sal's that unlock the light. Sal's is 1-9, but they always play a really good game. Every year they close out and unlock the light, and it's a show. So I don't expect that to be any different in the next couple of weeks. But that game yesterday was a beautiful game to watch. I mean, you saw a lot of high-level basketball. You saw high-level IQ. You saw some Showtime type plays. You saw a little bit of everything. And that's what you want out of high school basketball. It was a well-officiated game, well-coached game, well-played game. So kudos to Sanford and William Penn for giving us our Game of the Year candidate so far. Good news is we got another month plus of these. So, I mean, you never know. We could have another one on deck. The other game I went to this week was Howard versus Glasgow. Of course, last year, Glasgow handed Howard their first Blue Hen Conference loss, Flight B loss, I should say, since 2021. And that was definitely weighing on the minds of Coach Matthews, Nick Besa, and everybody on that team. And Glasgow went into the fourth quarter with a lead. So Chris Laws has a great team. He's another one that has a good team on his hands. That's another team that you don't want to see in the first or second round of the state tournament. They got a couple of big guys now. I mean, they're not, traditional centers, but in the Delaware mold, two kids that are like 6'5", 230-ish plus that could just, take up a lot of space. Because in Delaware, that's all you need sometimes. And he's got that. He's got Justin Caesar, who came over from Christiana. Shouts out to his dad. Ran into him twice this week. We had a good conversation about a lot of things. Jasir Robertson Hamilton, Emmanuel Harris, the guards. Those are some really good guards. And they play that frenetic style, that disciplined, in your face, in your chest style that Coach Laws adopted from when he played at Temple for the late John Chaney. So Glasgow is another team I would not want to see come to state tournament. But Howard has had a really good week. They beat Glasgow. They held off a pesky Dickinson team. I've got to get out to Dickinson and see a game this year. Because every time that, I look up, they're playing somebody tough. They're winning games or they're playing the top tier teams tough. So I got to get out to a Dickinson game. And they surprisingly had, I wouldn't say an easy time of it, but the score looked easy against Middletown on Saturday. And Middletown, of course, was just coming off a game where they beat Appo, who was previously unbeaten in Flight A. So Howard was 3-0 this week. and a really good 3-0. Like, it's not 3-0 where they were playing, like, no disrespect to these teams, but like AI, Concord, First State Military Academy or somebody like that. I mean, they played 3 really good teams that they could probably see again in the state tournament, and they won. So Coach Matthews is doing a wonderful job. I was telling, G. Johnson and Coach Matthews, because of course Coach Matthews went to William Penn, so he was at the game. He was at the Penn game after the Howard game on Saturday, and I was telling him his 3 guards kind of remind me of the way the Detroit Pistons used to do it in the bad boy era, because Nick Bayside reminds me of Isaiah Thomas, Bryson Lane reminds me of Joe Dumars, and Caden Brown is that wild card. He's the Vinnie Johnson of the group, the microwave. If you're not old enough to remember the microwave Vinnie Johnson, check him out on YouTube. Really tough guard who used to come off the bench and score at will. Danny Ainge, the guy who runs the Boston Celtics now, but he was a Boston Celtics guard back in the day. He was the one that gave Vinnie Johnson the nickname the microwave because he heated up so quickly. So, yeah, Caden Brown apparently had a microwave game yesterday against Middletown. So, Howard is a team that, you definitely would have to put in that next tier, because I feel like the top tier right now is Dover. I'm still like Dover. I mean, people are, kind of down on Dover because they lost to St. E's and Sanford, but St. E's and Sanford are the best 2 teams in the state right now. You got St. E's, you got Sanford, you got Dover, you got Odessa, St. George's, and then Howard probably, is in that mix as well. Odessa and Howard also play later on this year, on February 18th. I also think that's the same day as St. E's Sanford. Darn it. Can't be in 2 places at one time. But that's an interesting matchup, I feel like. On the girls' side of things, not much is changing, except in Flight A. Really, well, actually, Flight A and Flight B, there's a lot of change going on. I had to look this up because the Hodson girls upset AI 42-34 this week. I had to go back through the website for sports thing, and the last time AI lost a Flight B game was February 4th, 2020. That's right. Before the world shut down because of COVID, almost 5 years ago. That is crazy. AI had not lost a Flight B game since then. And Hodson, Chris Jones, he's been at Hodson forever. Literally forever. I think he was in Hodson when I was in college. I'll tell you how long he's been there. He's been to Elite Eights and different things of that nature. I think Hodson got to a Final Four once there with him. But yeah, he does a great job coaching that team. And I think what hurt AI was because they played Ursuline the day before. And of course, you got Gigi Banks coming into your building. It's going to be a long night for you. So they played, he hosted Ursuline on a Monday. They went out to Hodson on a Tuesday. So it's tough sledding, but right now, Howard is the top team in Flight B on the girls' side, and Howard and AI play on Thursday. Thank goodness that's early, and that's a 3:30 game. So I'm definitely going to be in the building for that, and then go to I think I'm going to go to another game that later on that night. So, there's a little bit of a changing of the guard there that could be happening, because AI is one of the last, because they didn't have a team in 2021, but every year they've had a team. 2020, 2022, 2023, 2024. They've won Flight B and the Blue Hen, and last year made the Final Four. So don't discount Lucky Price's team for a second. I mean, this might be just a hiccup in the road for them, but we're going to find out on Thursday how good Howard is, because Howard's played some really good ball as well. Curtis Clack always has his girls ready to play. They play a really aggressive defensive game. They're not going to outscore you, but they're definitely going to make you work for your points. I think they're giving up an average of, I want to say, about 36, 37 points a game this year. Yeah. Hard to score on that Howard team. So AI is definitely going to have their hands full again this Thursday. Definitely look forward to being in the building for that one. And in Flight A, Middletown is 8-1 right now. They beat Appo on Thursday to move to 4-0 in conference and 8-1 overall. And again, this is a Middletown girls team that lost their point guard, Layla Jacobs, before the season started with a knee injury. So what Brendan Mann is doing with that team, Coach Mann is doing with that team is to be commended. His 2 main players are Bria Harden and Gabrielle Dankwa. And a lot of role players around them. And so far it's working. So far it's working. They're 8-1. You can't not 8-1 right now. And I think the harder part of their schedule is over because they've already played and beat St. George's. They've already played and beat Appo. I think they still have Odessa, Del Castle, Mount Pleasant, and I think Newark. So yeah. I mean, no disrespect to those. I mean, Del Castle's on a 4-game winning streak right now, so you never know. But that last 4 feels like it. Middletown is in safer territory in terms of winning Flight A, so that's good for them. Ursuline has had a rough go of it. They lost to Imhotep Charter, 55-50 on Thursday. Had a chance to check that game Friday. Had a chance to watch that game on their huddle, and they're still. I think Ursuline's still. I mean, they're the champs until somebody beats them, but they need another score. They need somebody. They need to get some points from somewhere, because yes, Gigi can win a game by herself. There's no denying that. We've seen that. We've seen that too many times in the past to say that Ursuline can't win a state championship that way, because they did. But I feel like the two. I mean, they're obviously missing Taylor Brown. Of course, Taylor Brown is a Long Island Lutheran now. But I think the more important loss, honestly, is Skylar Bolden, because of course Skylar's at St. E's now. You're going to need a post player at some point to, when you see Sanford, who has Jada Sano and Naomi Allen, when you see Caravel, who has Jordan Tate and Brycelyn Strickning, you're going to need a post player to at least grab rebounds or make those other post girls work. And I don't think Ursuline has that right now, because I think Nia Murphy's more of a wing. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, she can shoot and she can handle the ball. So maybe she can draw those bigs out. But I feel like if St. E still had, I feel like Ursuline, still had Skylar, they would be in a little bit better shape. But it's still a long season. 6-5 for Ursuline. It's beneath their standards, but you got to look at who they've played. They played a lot of, Philly and DMV teams of note. So, they played Paul VI, and Paul VI would absolutely be the best team in Delaware, best girls team in Delaware, because they beat both Ursuline and Caravel by 20 plus. They play a different brand of ball up there in North Jersey. So it is what it is. But also, we can't forget downstate. Polytech beat Cape Henlopen 42-38 on the girls' side. And now we've got an interesting situation developing in the Henlopen North, because Smyrna, Cape, and Polytech all have one loss. So there could be a conceivable situation where we get to February 19th, which of course is the end of the regular season, and there's a 3-way tie atop the Henlopen North. How does that get worked out? Are there playing games? Are there coin flips? Are there point scenarios? That's the beauty of high school basketball. And you just never know what you're going to get from day to day. But that was a huge surprise. But yeah, Polytech apparently has played some really good ball. They're 6-1 right now. I think what's going to be tough coming down the stretch for a lot of these teams, because the snow really pushes things back. And people are like, well, why are the kids not going to school, in the snow anyway? I remember I walked 5 miles to school in the snow. Yeah, and you breathing like a steam engine right now. I don't mind, the kids, playing it safe where the kids are concerned, because these roads are crazy, because whatever Wilmington or Del Dot does, it never sticks for long, because, Washington Street, because if you go down the hill, Washington Street, going down the Washington Street Bridge, there's potholes and divots that have been there probably for 25 years. So, you take into account the roads are slick, the roads have divots and potholes in them. You don't want the kids being on buses and in traffic in these things, man. You got to play it safe. But unfortunately for the kids, when it's basketball kids, that means you're playing 3 games a week now. So you really are going to have to, ratchet it up. You're going to have to find that inner drive. You're going to have to find that boost of energy to be able to show up and show out every night. So there's going to be some games coming down the line where you'll see like a team lose the second half of back-to-back and be like, wow, they lost to that team. Kids get tired too. I mean, they may act like they don't. They get tired. So, yes, it's going to be tough, coming down the stretch to see how these games, all, how the state tournament shakes out, because they did not agree to the 3 points per win format that was originally proposed, because it was just mainly that they wanted the girls committee to get in on that, because it was a boys committee thing that was like a proposal. So they want the boys and girls committees to meet and talk about that in the off season. So as of now, for the 2025 state tournament, 2 points still counts for a win. 1 bonus point for a team with a 501 or better winning percentage. 2 bonus points for a team with a 701 or better winning percentage. So yeah, still the same format. And in case you guys are wondering, yes, 24 and more will be back on Tuesday. If you guys are not familiar, 24 and more is the thing where I start, forecasting who makes the state tournament, because there's 24 teams in the state tournament. The 24, that's where it comes from. And the and more is the teams who have a shot. And there's a lot of more going on because there's a lot of teams that are like with winning records right now. So there's a lot to, discuss and, a lot to, break down. And I will have that on the First Day Hoops Report website this coming Tuesday. So before I get out of here, because, it's 8 a.m., I want to hurry up, get this uploaded, hit the road, go to the gym, come back before it snows, all that good stuff. Glasgow, speaking of Glasgow, they honored Corey Curtis on Saturday, and I was happy to see that because we don't give our basketball legends in this state enough flowers, quite honestly. Because when you think about how many basketball players have gone on to play in college, some have played pro, others have just, been legend status for as long as they've been alive. And Corey Curtis was one of those guys for us on the East Side as young kids. And that 93 Glasgow team, because I went to see Glasgow play Penn in the semis that year and Sal's in the championship game, because one of the players on the team, Kevis Gardner, his mom, and has been a family friend of mine forever. So his mom has known me from the time I came home from the hospital. So, she asked me that she knew her and my mom used to talk all the time. And she was like, would Chris like to go to the games? Yes, please. I'll go. So, excuse me. Good Lord. I'm keeping that in. I'm sorry. I don't feel like editing. So yes. 93 was the first year of the Bob, by the way. And we walk just as we are walking in, just as Kevis's mom and our family, we're all walking in. Brandon Buffon Sr. hits the legendary shot that opens up the Bob experience, that legacy, that tradition. So I'm like, we're literally just getting to our seats when he hits that shot. And, that was my first time seeing Lenny Brown at a high school level, because the first time I saw Lenny Brown was at Stormers Classic and at Brandcroft High, and he had one of the greatest dunks I've ever seen to this day. He literally had his knee on somebody's, chin, back, like, arm in the rim like Vince Carter. It was like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. And for a 10-year-old kid, that was like, yeah, this is it. This is the thing. And, there was Coach Lumpkin on that team. There was Tail. I think Coach Matthews was on that team. I can't remember. But yeah, Glasgow beat Penn in the semis and beat Sally's in the championship game. And, Corey Curtis getting his flowers, because Corey Curtis was like, they called him Doc. And, it's because, he kind of operated on guys, kind of like Dr. J used to do. So, to see him, get his jersey retired, and, Chris Law, shouts out to him for recognizing, a legend, and, bringing him in and having him being honored, because he was Glasgow's all-time GOAT. Probably still is, to be honest with you. Not taking anything away from Mark Edgerson or anybody else that came through those doors, but Corey Curtis is probably, who you think of when you think of Glasgow basketball. So, it's good to see the legends get their flowers, and I like to see that more. There, of course, I did the story about the 79 Howard Wildcat girls, their first Flight B championship, and how, that team all came about, the great stories that Miss Tyler, who was, one of my guidance counselors at Howard when I was a student there, talking to the young ladies on the team then who are grown women with jobs and families now. Basketball has a rich lineage here in Delaware, and we need to start doing better by it. We do. So, for Corey Curtis to get his props, long overdue. Shouts out to him. Shouts out to Glasgow for, making it happen. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. And hopefully more of that happens, because you don't want to, let these people live and then, of course, transition without getting their flowers, getting the love that they deserve, the joy that they brought people on the basketball court, the skill that they played with, the passion, the aggression, the flair, they deserve it. So hopefully there's more of that in the future. And that's going to do it for this edition of Home Court, because my throat is getting scratchy, as you can hear. Greatly appreciate y'all's time as always. Contact information and my Cash App will be in the description below if you feel so compelled to, drop a love offering for what we're doing over here. So unless it snows buckets and in the freezing weather gets too much, we'll definitely see you in the gyms this week. So until I run into you guys, thank y'all for watching. Until next time, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. We out.